My oldest granddaughter, Adeline, is a genius. That hasn't been verified by outside sources, but I am pretty certain it's true. And one reason I know this is because she's only 18 months and she can count. Since she was tiny, her mom and dad would count backwards from 3 to get her prepared for the pitcher full of water they were about to pour over her head to clear away the shampoo at bath time. Now, she knows just what to do. She steadies herself in the water. She gets real still. She closes her eyes. Interestingly, and because, as I stated, she's a genius, she now uses this counting method for other activities that involve a measure of bravery, like going solo down the slide at the park or opening her mouth wide to try out a new food. 3, 2, 1 helps her set expectations and get ready for what's ahead. So imagine my surprise when I found out that the Bible also, in some respects, prepares us by counting. Sometimes it counts things as caution. Other times it counts things to encourage us or to teach us. But 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3 is going to be part of our journey through this week's reading. When you think about it, this makes sense. As a Bible teacher, often I will find a reasonable number of points to draw from a text to make it memorable and manageable for us as we study together. You hear pastors do this from the pulpit most Sundays. It shouldn't surprise us that the best, most practical forms of communication find their origin in Scripture. And that's one of the purposes of drawing out these different literary devices. It serves as an exclamation point on the idea that wisdom, truth, leadership, communication, morality, stewardship, and all matters for life and godliness originate from the God of the Bible. Now, numeric proverbs are not really difficult to define. They are places in Proverbs that use numbers to categorize or list things. Sometimes these will be to illustrate completion. You probably know that the number 7 is used in the Bible to represent completion and perfection. So there is precedence for this outside the book of Proverbs. Another aspect often present in numerical proverbs is escalation. Similar to how my granddaughter gears up to slide down or counts down to be doused with water, numbers can be used to show a growth in intensity, seriousness, or escalation. As students, we want to understand their purpose and read their meaning accordingly. Now, for whatever reason, the numeric proverbs we'll study are concentrated in chapter 30, so you won't have to go looking all over the book for them, with one exception that we find in chapter 6, which we'll look at. The remaining instances are going to be in chapter 30, though. So before discussing that chapter, let's look at the example from Proverbs 6. We'll find it in verses 16 through 19. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. After reading this passage, some might argue the Bible set the original 6-7 trend. Those of you who worked with or were raising kids or teens in the fall of 2025, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about there. But actually, this numeric proverb would have been familiar to literature students in ancient Israel. According to the CSB Women's Study Bible Notes, the pattern X and X+1 is a feature of both Hebrew and Homeric literature. The emphasis falls on the second number, 6 things, then 7, which is the intended number. Now, because we are not intimately familiar with the Hebrew or Homeric literature of ancient Israel, at least I'm not, I think it's important to clarify a few things. I pointed out earlier that 7 is often a number of completion or perfection in Scripture, and that's true. However, here it is used more as a literary device to show escalation and completion in a poetic sense, not a primary sense. And that just means that these are not the only sins that are reprehensible to God, but these are pulled out and grouped together and intensified in this way for emphasis. Early readers would have taken notice, and so should we. This week, you'll read Proverbs 30, which is where the remainder of our numeric proverbs are found. There is no wrong way to read these, especially because you will be paying close attention to them, which is actually the point. With that in mind, I'm asking you to list the numeric proverbs you find in chapter 30. Record patterns you find. Use context to determine if there is an escalation or a warning or a thought completed by these numbers. Ask God to meet you on the pages of Proverbs this week. He will.